Happy birthday to you. Hello and welcome. We're going to be talking about Gundam Witch from Mercury today. Witch from Mercury is a weird, cool show in a lot of ways. I like it a lot. When it comes to Gundam, right? You have your Gundam series that start off immediately with extreme action and, you know, hey, here's the big fights. And then you have Gundam series that are a little bit slower in starting. A lot of people, when they think about Gundam, will say, well, Gundam is, you know, hey, first Gundam. It's Mobile Suit Gundam. It's Zeta Gundam. Before the end of the first episode, the action's already kicked off and everything's going. But what a lot of people don't think about is that's not all there is to Gundam, right? You have things like Double Zeta. You have, and whether you like Double Zeta or not, you have things like Build Fighters. Shows that start a little bit slower and build up to the big moments. And you may think that what I'm trying to say is that Witch from Mercury does that. I don't think that's the case, actually, because I don't think the show starts at episode 1. I think it starts at episode 0. And before we get into spoilers, because I do have a lot I want to talk about with it, let's talk about, from a non-spoiler view, is this Gundam series worth watching? If you're already a fan of Gundam, yeah, why wouldn't you watch it? It's a new Gundam series. We'll talk about a little bit of the controversy that has gone on with Witch from Mercury in a minute, but is this a show as a non-Gundam fan that you might want to watch? Is this an anime as a non-Gundam fan that you might want to watch? Because when the show first came out, a lot of people were touting it as, hey, this is a new Gundam series that is a little bit slower, which I don't think it is, but it's a little bit slower, and it's a little bit of, hey, anybody can enjoy this, right? I think anybody can enjoy Gundam anyway, but is it that? Sort of. To a point, it is that. If you're somebody that has bounced off Gundam before, I would say still give Witch from Mercury a shot, because Witch from Mercury is going to have a lot of the school aspects that you expect from a slice of life anime, while still having those dark, heavy moments that come from Gundam. And that is another thing. If you're somebody that really struggles with the dark, heavy moments in Gundam, G-Witch is not going to change that for you. From the prologue on, G-Witch is very serious. Character deaths happen often. And you may say, well, that's not the case, though. If you look at episodes like 1, 2, 3, it slows down a lot. And it does, but that's because it has to do the world building. So, without getting into too many spoilers, when you look at it versus, say, a First Gundam or a Zeta Gundam, a lot of that world building is done while you're in the middle of the action. Here, we get more of like a turn A, right? There's a big moment at the start, which turn A has a weird big moment at the start, but I love it so much. And then the world building slowly builds to the other big moments. And I don't want to get into where I'm ranking G-Witch yet, because it's not done, first off, but also because I want to save that so that you'll watch the entire video instead of just watching the start and then clicking off. But if you're a fan of Gundam, obviously this is a Gundam series you want to watch. If you're not a fan of Gundam, I still think this is worth checking out. Maybe it'll be the gateway into Gundam for you, because it is a little bit slower in the middle before it starts to ramp up again. Now, let's talk a little bit about the controversies, because for whatever reason, this Gundam series has had so much backlash from some weird sections of the fan base. And at first, it seemed like it was because the main character is a girl, which that's a weird thing for people to be mad about in 2023, especially since we've had female pilots in Gundam before. And then it was, well, you know, the Gundam's going to be piloted by a girl this time, and that's different. Well, not really. I mean, Machine from Zeta Gundam was a Gundam pilot. Like, that's normal in Gundam. But then there was like weird stuff about the relationship between Suletta and Miorine, which is like, we don't even know yet what that relationship is really going to be in the first half of this. And all I'm going to say is, that's a weird thing for people to be frustrated with Gundam for. And then the other big one that kept coming up was the design of the Ariel, the Gundam Ariel. People would get mad that it didn't look like a Gundam. But, like, have you seen G-Reco? It looks very similar to the G-Self. That's a Gundam. Also, what is a Gundam at the end of the day? Because if we're going to do that discussion, then, like, the Zaku Head Zeta, that's still a Gundam. Or the Gusian before it's the remake is still a Gundam. Like, it's a weird argument to have. So at the end of the day, this show is not without its controversies, but none of them are because of the content of the show itself. It's just because people are weird. When it comes to the show itself, still in non-spoilers here, of course, the characters are interesting, though I don't think any of them are as deep as I'd like them to be yet. We don't know enough about them yet. The biggest one I would say is like Prospera. Prospera is a very deep, nuanced character, and I want to know more about her. The fandom is taken to calling her Char Mommy, and I can't blame them. But people like Suletta and Miorine and Guel, throughout the course of this first core of the show, right, we don't really get a lot of moments where they get to shine too much. It's mostly just, hey, here they are, little bits of character. And I feel like by the end of the show, I will like all of them more, but they're all very likable right now. And Miorine specifically is like up there for me. I like her quite a bit. Soletta's pretty good. I really like her by the end. And Guel Jeturk, sure. Yeah, I'm for it. I like Bob. Bob's a cool guy. I like Bob. There's more I want to see, and that's the problem, I guess, with it being a single core of 12 episodes, is I want more episodes. Like, I've got almost 50 episodes to base most Gundam characters off of, 8 episodes for some of them, and because this is a little bit more slow in the middle, where you get those slow character building moments, you would think that that would mean that people like Guel, you're going to get a lot of like development for, and you do get some good development, but the development I want to see, I'm not going to get to see till the next core, which is not really a complaint because the show's not finished. It's just what I want to see from these characters I don't get to see yet. Now, all of that, however, is subverted with one character that I want to bring up, and I don't want to spoil too much in this section, but Ellen, great character. Absolutely incredible character. Love that character. That arc is so cool. Happy birthday to you. Wonderful character. And then I do like Suletta and Miorine, and we'll get in more with them with spoilers because I don't want to spoil too much here. But I feel like some of the side characters haven't got the due they needed. Like, we spend a lot of time with Shadik towards the end of these 12 episodes, and he's got like a whole posse, and I can't tell you any of their names because they kind of don't matter, right? Which is a shame. The Earth group that we get introduced to, I remember Choo Choo. I remember their faces for the other ones, but I don't remember their names. And I feel like, again, that second core will flesh all the rest of this out with the developments that happen at the end of first core, right? And that's not Wish for Mercury's fault. It's just, we've got 12 episodes, and I want the rest. But, again, this is a great show. I absolutely think it's worth watching. Let's get into mech designs, and then we'll get into spoilers, because I don't want to spoil too much in this non-spoiler section of the review. Mech designs. I really, really love the mechs in this. I don't have all the names memorized yet, but I love the Garibaldi. Let me pull up the mech list here. I think that we've got some really strong contenders here. Stuff like Lafriths. Stuff like the Faract. The Ariel itself, and of course the Ariel that we get at the end, the rebuild. Oh, so good. These are some really cool looking suits. And I think a lot of what helps these mobile suits is not just the Gund format giving some really cool effects, but it's also the design choices here, right? So, without spoiling too much, the mobile suits are designed by the different houses, right? And that means that each one has its own unique style that really makes them shine. And it also makes the Lafrith variations that we see later shine because they're not from that. And it's so good. I don't want to spoil too much for people. You should watch Wish for Mercury. But it's so interesting, and I just want more of this world building. There is a sequence in like episodes 11, 12, where you get into this big trade conference, and it is one of the most interesting sections of the show for me, because I just want to know more about this world building. Tell me more about what's happening right now. Explain to me how this happened, because I'm so curious. But wrapping all this up for the non-spoiler section, the music is great. The sound effects are really, really good. As of yet, there's not a track that when it plays, I'm just like, yeah, like you get with like a Build Fighters or an IBO. But for the most part, the music's been really, really good. And I feel like that track that plays in episode 12, you know the one, is probably going to wind up being a leitmotif for the rest of the series. And if so, I'm excited for it. And then, of course, Happy Birthday is already a leitmotif. So, awesome. Visuals are great. Music's great. Characters are really good. Want to see more from them, but that's just, again, because the show's not done. And, yeah, it's Gundam. If you've made it 10 minutes into this and you're still on the fence, you should give it a shot. There's only 12 episodes right now. Start with episode 0, the prologue, and give it a go, because it's really good. Let's get into spoilers. All right, so look, Happy Birthday will never mean the same thing to me again. Kamen Rider O's made me love Happy Birthday in a different way, and this show has made me feel things at Happy Birthday every time. The prologue immediately just, hey, yeah, there's some stuff happening. Also, again, this is your last warning. We're in full spoilers here. You can see the ticker rolling at the bottom. If you do not care about spoilers, I'm about to spoil everything for you. The gun bitch big babies. What? Suletta crushing that guy? Look, there are some great moments in Gundam, and there are some incredibly dark moments in Gundam, and I don't think Witch from Mercury has the darkest moments, but I think it already has 2 incredibly dark moments that fit in very well with the darkest moments of the franchise. The look of horror on Miorine's face. Witch from Mercury, a lot of people say like it has a rug pull, right? I don't think it has a rug pull. I think instead it's just, if you didn't watch episode 0, you might not expect what's coming. But if you watch the prologue, you already know this show gets dark. I love the permit score system and what it does to the pilots. I love that so much. I love Ellen and everything that happens with him. I love Ares' parents. We're assuming Ares Suletta. I'm like 99% sure, because that's Prosperous, her mom. But it might not be. You got a theory. We'll see. All right, let's get some structure to the spoiler section, because this is just a ramble right now. I really like these characters. I like Suletta a lot. She's a little bit more timid than I expected her to be, honestly. But that's kind of refreshing in a way. We don't have a lot of timid Gundam characters, right? Not main characters, at least. Normally, that's a side character role. And the fact that her whole, like, pathos, if you run, you gain 1. If you move forward, you gain 2. That's an ideology I really like. I like that a lot. Hey, running away, that can work. You can gain something from running. But if you move forward instead, you can gain more. And she's a very flawed character in a lot of ways. And I think that what's going to happen with her moving forward is going to be very, very interesting, because she's just a little bit broken in a way that I really like. It reminds me a lot of, like, she's not anywhere close to Hiro Yui, right? But it reminds me a lot like how Hiro Yui is broken, or how Setsuna Seiya is broken. It's that little bit of them that's off because they didn't get something they needed, and they're never gonna get that thing, probably. And it just, it has them, there's not a good word for it. It has them fractured, I guess. But that's not the word I'm looking for, but it'll work. Where they're not going to respond to things the way that you would expect them to. And I really like her as a character. She's definitely got her problems, right? She doesn't communicate. And I think that is part of the things I like about her as well. But it does mean that there are moments where it's just like, all right, come on, Suletta. Just talk to this person. We'll get this worked out. But among Gundam characters, that's not a bad problem to have compared to some of the other ones. Miorine is really interesting. I think that she also, interestingly, has communication problems, and so does Guel. Like all these kids just need to learn to talk to somebody, um, because she's just moving forward with her own plans and not really talking to Soletta and seeing how Soletta feels. And that obviously would have fixed a lot of things, but it wouldn't have let them get where they needed to get. So I understand why it happened. It's an interesting thing that they both have pretty bad communication problems, as it seems. And why wouldn't they really? I mean, look at her relationship with her dad. But I like Miorine a lot. I think that right now she hasn't got a lot of time to shine other than that big moment towards the end. But she's pretty cool. I do think she's got a little bit going on of, yeah, just give me a couple moments. I can learn to do anything, which makes me think there's something extra happening there. It's not just she's really smart. I feel like there's something extra happening there, but we'll see. Thinking like coordinator, cyber new type kind of thing. Probably not, but we'll see. Gwen Jeturk is great. I love Bob. I love Bob so much. Look, man, of all the Gundam characters in this show, of all the characters that are Gundam characters in the show, Gwen Jeturk is a Gundam character, man. Everything to do with his dad, living out in the woods, becoming Bob, and then finally getting free, realizing that it's not a duel, only to then do the thing that he can't take back. Love Quill Jeturk. Cannot wait to see how his character evolves. Really excited for that, honestly. I already talked about Ellen. Ellen is great. Ellen, incredible character. Happy birthday, my friend. Happy birthday. Shattuck is okay. I understand where Shattuck's coming from. It's never really explained why he has like a whole harem of people. I feel like they must like him, right? But also maybe they work for him. It's not really delved into. Maybe we'll get more from that as we go. But I feel like that just kind of comes out of nowhere and then doesn't amount to much other than that they're his team. And I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity that we spend all this time on Shattuck in like episodes 8, 9, when there's other characters I'm way more interested in at this point, and Shattuck's just not winning me over. I don't know. I didn't love that section, even though the Earth group working together, that was great. That's great. I like Choo Choo a lot. Everybody likes Choo Choo. That's not a surprise. Choo Choo's great. And the rest of the Earth group is okay. They I don't want to say they come off a little bit forgettable, but it's kind of like if I asked you today to name me the crew of the Archangel, you'd probably be able to name Toll, and you might, I'm trying to remember her name right now. It starts with an M. The girl that runs the communications. But you're not going to remember the guy that Captain Ramius tells to fire the Eagle Stellings, and he says, "Aye, Captain." Yes, ma'am. You're not going to remember his name. But you are going to remember Marker from First Gundam, because his name's Marker. And so my point is, like, these characters I think needed to be a little bit more distinctively named if they're not going to be distinctively necessarily interesting. Like, there's a whole, like, subplot where two of the Earth group are fighting with each other, and it just kind of goes nowhere. It's like, yeah, they got over it. Everything's fine. And I just feel like we get a lot of moments with other characters. We could have had a little bit with them if we weren't going to get more development out of the characters I wanted to get developed. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of Soletta in these episodes is I can't get a hold of Ellen, and I can't get a hold of Miorine, which is important. Don't get me wrong. That's very important for where her arc goes towards the end of this, because she needs to feel alone. But if we're going to have all that, we could have had just a couple moments to let me learn about the rest of the Earth group. That's all I'm saying. There is some interesting stuff that happens with one of them where she's working for Shattuck, and that's cool. And she's the one I should remember because her name gets said more than the others. It starts with an N, but I can't. And maybe that's on me. I'm famously the guy that struggles to remember character names unless I'm not talking about those characters, and then I can just pull them out of a hat. But I do think the Earth group is kind of underutilized, unfortunately, especially since they have like that whole like we're making a company thing. That could have been a time for a couple characters to shine instead of just hey, Miorine's telling them what they're doing. This is what they're doing. Okay, we're gonna go do the thing now. But when it comes to the combat in Witch from Mercury is really interesting. There's a lot of beams, which I find I think that's a good thing. Because IBO was like very few beams. This is a lot of beams, little bit of physical. So as long as we keep like going back and forth, I'll be all right. But the beams look beautiful. The effects are done so well. They sound great. I really love the gun bits. The gun bits are so cool. Love those things. And the Ferract and its ability to like shut down individual parts of enemy suits, that's really, really cool. The fights are all really, really nice, and we're not to the point yet where we're going to be getting like life or death fights in every fight, I don't think, but the ones that we've already gotten are really good. And I like this show a lot, which is kind of a weak thing to say, I guess, after 17 minutes of talking about it, but I do. I like the show a lot. This is a good Gundam series. If you asked me to rank it right now, I wouldn't because it's not done yet. But it's not in my top 5. But it's in my top 15, you know? And when it comes to Gundam, that's saying something. There's a lot of good Gundam series out there. So if you're still on the fence about Witch from Mercury, you absolutely should check it out, in my opinion. I think it's really solid. I'm looking forward to the second half. Second half may just completely throw it all away. I mean, look at 00 Season 2. The second half may just take some weird turns, but we'll see. Because so far, I like it. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with it. My predictions, I think that, I don't know. It's really hard to say. Miorine is probably going to be disgusted with Soleto. There's probably going to be some breakdown there. The Lafriths are on footage now. Everybody's seen them. Delling's probably going to die. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But at the end of the day, Witch from Mercury gave us Charmami, and so that's a win in my book. Let me know your thoughts on Witch from Mercury in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum. The Gundam has to offer.